Well, how should you eat based on your age? That's the question that we're going to be answering today and a little bit more on Table Talk. Well, welcome to Table Talk by Uplift Fitness, where we clarify all things food, dieting, and your next steps to live the fit and healthy life that you deserve. And the last episode was your body type. So you might think you know where this one is going if you watch that How Should You Eat based on your body type, but there are some actual considerations here apart from the last one, which was just whatever we feel like about nutrition today, let's make that up and tell people to eat that way. That's kind of how the last video turned out. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched that one yet. But how does age affect your goals? We're going to talk about, if you're trying to get to a certain place with your physique, with your health, whatever, what impact age is going to have on those things. So let's look at that first. Well, first of all, it depends on obviously your goals. We can all have very different goals with our diet and the reason why we're eating the way that we are. So we need to nail that down first and have a little bit of an understanding there. And of course, always remember you can drop comments about that below the video and we'd be happy to answer those for you. But when we take the Uplift Fitness approach, total health optimization, which results in maximum muscle and being super lean and all the things that we want, they kind of all happen at once, and that makes it a little bit easier because it's just one methodology. You don't have to know which one exactly that you're supposed to be doing. But let's just kind of start off here by kind of going through the life cycle. Why can we eat whatever when we're younger? Well, one, and obviously not have the adverse effects of gaining body fat, things of this nature, and grow a lot of muscle a lot easier and be in better shape and feel better, regardless sometimes of what we ate while we're growing, which requires a ton of energy building new tissue, especially things like our bone or our tendons, getting all those things set up. That growing requires a ton of energy, which is a ton of calories. And then our hormones, they're soaring, they're growing, a lot of things are happening, and we got a lot of help on that end, or if you were a kid that was in sports, if you moved around a lot, oh my gosh, when I think about basketball practice back in the day or track practice, the amount of calories we probably burnt, no wonder we could eat whatever we wanted, and honestly probably wasn't eating as much as we thought, but it felt that way. It felt like we'd eat whatever we wanted. Or just school, even if you did play sports, you got up every 45 minutes to an hour, though I know today that is gonna look a lot different with the blended learning and things, but just your activity level, your steps went up because you walked down the hall, you went to your locker between every period and went to the next class. So those things were in play. And then stress, well, it's much, much lower. If you look back now and you thought, oh my gosh, what Tina was saying about you in third period, that was so stressful. But yeah, compare that to today, having to pay bills, being on a busy schedule, worrying about your boss at work. Those types of things are much more stressful, given we have sometimes a lot to lose there in our house and our family and our kids, and we got to feed stuff. So it gets a little hectic now, and that stress just wasn't there back then. But then what happens? You graduate, you go to college or not, you go to a trade school, get a good job, you get some training there, and you get married, have kids, you get busier, you move, focusing on different things. A lot of things can happen, and that turns into stress, and time management is a big deal then. And we know with all this extra stress, a lot of times comes weight gain, and stress eating as well is going to cause a lot of that weight gain as well. And stress a lot of times equals the avoidance of responsibilities because we don't want to face that right now. Our brain is just taxed. We don't have the mental effort sometime to worry about that, which affects our time, which we're already short of. So now we have even less time, which is probably not going to lead to us cooking, preparing all of our food and our meals. So our food choices get worse, which means more processed foods, which means psychological issues because that does affect our brain. It affects how we feel. Food addiction becomes an issue there. We're overeating, and thus we're gaining weight. And that can even cause a poor mental state, higher stress, less time because of those things. As that cycle continues, a terrible diet and no time to work out because all of those aforementioned things. So when we look at the difference, yeah, maybe we're growing a little bit more, we're moving a little bit more, but there's a lot more to the picture when we talk about your diet and your age. It's because our lifestyle has shifted so much. So we can really go down the rabbit trail there of all the different factors. Obviously, something we hit on, we barely briefly mentioned it here on social media, but the biopsychosocial model, which don't let me lose you there, just means how things, not just food, but exercise and a lot of other factors affect our biology, our physiological body, our psychology, and then our social life and our relationships and those things. And enter in all the factors that we just talked about, you can see that can become a big mess. But there's a lot of things going on there, and especially as our lifestyle change, things begin to shift. But does this change the fact that in order to build muscle, in order to speed up our metabolism, in order to lean out, to do any number of things, just feel better, sleep better, does that change the fact that regardless of what our circumstances are, we need to eat more whole foods, eat less processed foods, control for our calories first, optimize protein, and pay attention to our macronutrients, be doing strength training to build muscle and thus improve immune function, reducing stress, and improve our joint health, manage our stress and our mindset? No, those things never change. They're always there. So when we talk about what does change, it's how you'll go about doing these things. It's not the things that we need to do, it's how we'll go about doing them. When you're a teenager, if we're teaching a younger group of kids these things, whether they care or not, they may be kind of indifferent, but they'll most generally not have a lot of the barriers that we may as adults sometimes. And that's not off-putting, saying the kids don't have problems. I'm not saying that at all, but there's no real discrepancy on what we need to do as humans to have better health and have a better physique and feel better and be able to go out about our day and perform better. But again, what does change is how you go about doing those things. How much you eat, what types of foods, those things are relevant to your age. Now, food is more about than just function though. And I know it's super hardcore to say, well, I eat for function, not for pleasure. And that's amazing because it's value-based living versus emotional based living, which is where many of us are. And again, not talking down to anybody, but that's a destination that requires a journey to get there. And sometimes, and some people are closer than that than others. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to do that, even though that may be a great thing. And the value-based living, what that would look like with our diet is just, I'm eating this because it's going to get me closer to my goals and it's going to give me some traction towards those things versus pulling me away from them, versus an emotional base, which is I'm craving this, I want this to make me feel better. So there's a discrepancy there, but there's a lot of things that need to happen before maybe we just do eat whole foods. We had to get that stuff under control to be able to then control for our calories and optimize our protein and so forth. So until you get into your senior years, when digestion becomes a little different, until insulin, naturally you become more resistant to it. You don't change much even then, but the effects of aging don't show even at that point if you've been lifting weights and eating properly for years. However, you will need to pay a little bit more attention and put more emphasis on digestion and eating enough protein, but honestly, that is always a priority. It just might look a little bit different as you age. So when we kind of sum all this up, does your age affect how you eat? Yes, it does, and no, it doesn't. So, but now you know. Now you know that yes, it will impact how you go about doing those things, but no, it does not affect just these foundational goals that all of us have to have. Now for you, that may look like you're eating more fish rather than some fattier cuts of meat because it's a little bit easier on your stomach sometimes. Or maybe you heal your digestion in your gut and that'd be awesome. Maybe you do a carnivore AIP immune protocol and you kick some autoimmune diseases butt, and now you're able to eat different foods. Those things will change, but it's always going to be whole foods, controlling for calories, optimizing protein, strength training, sleeping, reducing stress, and having the right mindset that's going to get yourself where you want to go. So thank you so much for checking out Table Talk. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below, but more than anything, share this so other people can get a hold of it. And we love interacting with you guys, so do not hesitate to ask questions. Don't overthink it's a stupid question. Chances are people have the exact same one. And also, when you share it, when you drop a comment on something that you learned, we know this is the type of content that is having an impact on you and helping you do the things that you love to do a little bit better. So thank you so much for doing that. I'm Chase, and I'll see you next time on Table Talk.